Computer, I know it's recording in progress. Oh my God. Exactly. As you can see, our good friend Leonard has no shame at all. He's at an Analyst event doing air guitar, embarrassing himself in front of everybody.
It's almost expected.
It's expected at this point.
It's expected at this point. Yeah, see, I'm here. This is an enterprise industry analyst event. And,
Ericsson? You said it's an Ericsson event?
Yeah, it's an Ericsson.
Okay.
We get to learn about as close as they get to IoT. The stuff you used to do.
Right before we locked down for COVID, one of the last things I did was a Ericsson Analyst event in Boston, of all places. It's probably in the same building, for all I know. I might even know other people there.
You probably know a bunch of people.
Like analyst relations people there, maybe.
Tammy's here. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Obviously,
everyone's having coffee right now.
Right.
So what's up, man?
So we would do this analyst event. I remember we did it in I'm going to say December maybe of 2019 before we locked down, and it snowed in Boston. It was beautiful. And we did it in Boston because a lot of analyst firms are there locally.
Yeah.
And then also we drove out to IDC's headquarters one of the days to do a briefing on site there, since that was only 20 or so miles or outside of town. Yeah. Was it Framingham? Something like that is where IDC is?
I never worked for IDC, so.
Well, but you should know, you're an analyst. You're supposed to know the headquarters of Gartner and IDC and Forrester, the Holy Trinity.
Is that the requirement? Okay.
Maybe.
I didn't know.
You got to sound like you know what you're talking about a little bit, at least, just a little.
Well, it's hard to, because here's the thing. Getting on and just pushing the record button, not editing anything is tougher than most people think, because we talk about all kinds of stuff, right? And so it's not always the case where like Googling ahead of time and preparing. I mean, I challenge anyone to do this. And you remembering everything and every single acronym and buzzword and technical. I mean, good luck.
So many,
unless you're just doing that one thing your whole life. I mean,
so many of these videos and podcasts are so heavily produced. Where they're just so worried about every last little tiny thing, and then they spend hours and days perfecting it, and we're just like, whatever.
And we're just shooting from the hip every day. I mean, we don't even know what we're going to talk. Like right now, I have no idea what we're going to talk about.
But
it's like some context. Right?
Our shooting from the hip it's like that the book Blink, where our shoot from the hip is because we know the shit so deeply that we're not just like making stuff up and winging it. We really know it,
Yeah,
absolutely. So I thought I would show this to speaking of shooting from the hip.
Ridiculous.
So this
That's
is
awesome bottle, man.
Red Bison whiskey. So this is where I work these days, at Red Bison, doing it's actually Buffalo Trace whiskey. Anyway, give it to customers, give them some whiskey,
Well, we did establish before the best way to sell IoT was to take someone to a Kentucky basketball game, and then give them some bourbon.
Yeah.
And then you'll make a sale.
That's how you make a sale.
And then you have to sprinkle in a little generative AI so that they hallucinate a bit, and then they'll hit the dotted line.
I think you should start your own
consulting.
How to sell with Leonard Lee. I've created this I got 24 CD-ROMs that I'll send you for only $29.95. You'll learn how to sell.
Marketing right there. See that is how you make money off of not that generative AI will actually make you money. That is how you make money.
It is
videos.
Exactly. So I noticed that there is in the news today from Reuters telling me there's in Europe, the EU, maybe it's the EU Commission, whoever those guys are. Basically there's this notion of calling gatekeeper products.
Yeah. The DMA thing, the digital market. I forgot what the A stands for. See, that's what I'm saying. Shooting for the hip. Sometimes you forget what all these, you don't remember.
Yeah. And so they're
something else in security. I'm sure of it.
And so the EU is just saying you're a gatekeeper and you're a gatekeeper. Yeah. And then they're going to say, and therefore you've got to do whatever we say until we change your product. And then if you don't, we're going to fine you 20%. How much? I know a lot of the companies are like, trying to be nice. So, well, gosh. But on the other hand, screw them. It sounds like a bunch of the people at this EU Commission have a lot of time in their hands and they just sit around all day seeing how they can stick it to guess where all these companies come from. Europe? US. No, they're all from the US and China. Yeah. And so it's basically like, how do they arbitrarily just get to say, well, Apple iMessenger or whatever, you need to be interoperate with all these other deals.
Or the lightning adapter.
Yeah, but, exactly.
But honestly, what it basically amounts to is like what a lot of countries are doing at the moment is regulatory protectionism. So instead of saying we're going to restrict goods in terms of trade, they basically use regulations to set standards and policy that can restrict certain behaviors and markets for companies, and they're not the only ones that do it, but they are using it to great effect, especially against U.S. companies.
Right. So, this sounds like the opposite of innovation. This sounds like
it really is.
All you guys innovated, created your proprietary product, got lots of customers, and then we all decided that you're now a gatekeeper, and therefore we're going to fine you unless you do what we tell you to do.
Yeah. But I think, for a lot of European companies, and it'll be great to get Marc's take on this when he pops on, is that they like it. This is like, I bet you Marc should have a really good and interesting perspective on this. But from my standpoint, I think it's like, come on, guys, this isn't going to help you guys compete. And, the thing that really annoys me is this whole lightning connector thing and iMessage, actually, all of those. It's like, that's not your biggest problem. And not only that, if your argument is you're going to improve the experience and value to consumers, you're wrong. The whole lightning connector thing is complete bullshit. I have to buy a ton of new accessories for the next iPhone because it's going to have a USB-C port on it, and I bought like thousands of dollars of accessories that require a lightning cable,
which we know is where Apple makes all their money is through accessories.
And these bozos didn't think this through. And then their whole argument is you want to reduce e-waste. It's like no. How about accelerating obsolescence of stuff that is already been sold in the market, and then creating more e-waste. And a lot of it has to do with ignorance on the part of regulators who don't actually know technology in the market, and then they're being advised by some really they're getting some really bad advice. So
anyway. Tell names.
No, I won't. They know who they are. I don't need to out them out.
Well, so this wasn't an EU thing, but think about Canada, for instance. Remember how they came out and said something about the news or stuff you could get from Facebook or something like that?
But guys, I have to take off, but make sure that we're in.
We are now in gallery mode. You're right. Originally we were not. And so now we are. So that's good.
Okay, cool.
We're getting better all the time.
Yeah, I know. You're becoming a pro host.
Yeah, maybe you should just aim the camera at the speaker for your event.
Yeah, that might be good. They might not, but there's going to be some NDA stuff coming in. But hey,
Yeah.
you guys have a great chat, all right? I got to take off.
All right. Have a good
Have a good
event.
day.
Adios, senor.
Adios, senor Lee.
Yeah, exactly. So he is at an Ericsson Enterprise blah, blah, blah analyst event in Boston.
Oh my God.
And he just actually, I got to say hi to one of my old colleagues, Jan, which funnily enough, he's like, oh, and by the way, I'm taking a package and leaving the company. I'm like, oh, so we should connect really soon. I'm going to be a consultant. I'm like, oh, okay, we know that story.
Yes, exactly. No, you live that story.
Oh my gosh.
Some months ago.
Yeah.
Do you miss the old days in big corporations?
Some things, yeah, obviously I'm having fun at a little company right now, but yeah, it's funny when I think back to like Microsoft over the years, and you go, what were the highlights? What did I really, really enjoy? Speaking at conferences was fun. Writing code was fun when I got the chance. And so depending on the job, different times at Microsoft, I was a software engineer or an architect and actually got to build things. Other times it's more product management and you're not building things, But yeah, I think I loved going to the events and then preparing for all the speaking sessions you're going to do. And a lot of times in the good old days, I was writing a lot of code for the presentation because the code, that's what for all the demos. And that I love doing that, especially because I found myself over the years. Over time you're doing different things. You're a director, you're a whatever. And so I'd still be speaking at all these developer events. And it was like sometimes my only opportunity to write code to create a demo for some new technology we were talking about.
But I bet that most of the demos of IoT devices in events are just fake IoT devices, right? They are not
Raspberry Pi.
They kill the eye. No, but probably they kill the internet because there is no internet on big events, or they're not. Maybe there were no internet in the past. Not sure in the future.
Well, even if you do have internet at the event, you as a speaker, you should never assume that you will have it because something will go wrong for sure. And so you would always have to create a whole self-contained network and environment all up on the stage, on the speaker stand with all your devices and everything, making sure it did not need the internet to work. Because yes, we've seen lots of disastrous presentations that depended on connecting to some cloud or whatever, and it went wrong.
Actually, now that we are speaking about events and IoT demos, etc., I remember, I was super happy this summer. I learned that a bank that I was doing a research project for them in 2009, they just made, or part of the project that I built for them, they just make it in production.
Oh,
so that was like research. So the goal basically was that you can go with your phone in front of an ATM and get the money. Just interacting with the phone, not
just hold the phone up and it works.
And then you get the money without any there are other options like you put a code on the ATM and then you get the money, but no, just with the phone, you just do this and you get the money just interacting with the phone, not with the ATM.
That's pretty
cool.
I
did that in 2009. I presented that, or that was 2008. I don't remember.
Wow!
But I presented that on the Mobile World Congress in the old venue. You remember that one?
Yeah. Oh my God!
And I remember that it was not working. 9 a.m. not working at all. And then they told me in 3 minutes the TV comes here to interview you to show these. And I was like, oh my God! And luckily I don't know. I restart something and it worked.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, this is the classical last minute issue that happens when
So how did you make it work? Some secret technology, NFC or?
No, at that moment, I think we were using the first Android phone.
Okay.
So And then it was funny because we were working on the labs actually we were working with Fujitsu, who were making the ATMs for this bank. And the Fujitsu hacker just made they add Bluetooth. So at the end, it's a PC, right? Behind an ATM.
Okay.
So they put a Bluetooth dongle on it.
Okay.
And then we put another PC, as we couldn't add software on that PC for security reasons.
Right.
And that PC interact with the phone, and the phone interact with the PC and interact with the Bluetooth. And then we got we got to get the money, the fake money from all of them.
That's awesome. And so decade later.
Exactly. So it's like 14 years later, they made it. I'm not sure if they made it with Bluetooth. Probably it's NFC, right?
Maybe it just depends. Yeah.
I'm not sure.
That's pretty cool.
I don't work with that bank anymore, so I cannot test.
But think about it. At the time, you were doing a bleeding edge technology. It was all brand new. Android was brand new. Bluetooth was early days.
Yeah.
Taking a risk with something like money transfer and stuff like that. That's pretty awesome, dude.
And that's basically actually the main goal for that was for blind people. Or older people.
Okay.
Basically it was for blind people. And actually we test that with blind people in a real ATM environment and so on, and it was so cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's awesome how they interact with technology, with the text readers and etc.
Yeah, that's incredible. It looks like we have a basketball star joining us now.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah.
Wow.
Congratulations.
Look at this. What are we looking at here? Hold that up to the camera. Oh my gosh.
Maxi basketball.
Awesome.
And this is gold or?
Yeah.
Wow.
We got the gold.
It's pure gold.
As my grandkids asked Rob, they didn't want to know if there was chocolate inside.
Of course. That's right. Oh my gosh. Wow. Congratulations. What a great accomplishment.
It was an honor being selected. I didn't think, anything would be, it was from the opening ceremonies, when you have, 80 countries of athletes from 45 to 85 years old walking in on the stage and, with their flags and stuff. It was just insane. Everything was insane about it.
Oh my gosh. What a great experience.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, and then winning it, it's like, obviously nowhere pairs in comparison to, the regular Olympics, but still when you go through this, you go, man, this is like I'm representing my country and a cool thing. And
so how many games did you have to play through the tournament?
There were 4 groups of 4 teams, so 16 teams qualified in their regional world brackets.
Okay.
And then we played 6. We went 6-0. So we had 6 games over 10 days.
Wow. Were any of the games like really close, or could have gone either way, or?
The final against Brazil. Yeah, that was definitely our toughest game, and there was a bad. I just got back from the doctor. I got bronchitis, but with the bug, the crud of the sinus and the cough went through all the teams over the last week, and so many of us were playing sick. And that's when you mentally go, okay, well, I got to play for my minutes at 100%, regardless of whether you're coughing or sneezing or you can't breathe, right? So we got down to Sunday, and it was, a limited amount of us, were able to do anything. So, I mean, I only played like 7 minutes in the final because I was sick. I mean, it was really bad, but we did great. I averaged 11 points, 11.5 points for 6 games, and
That is awesome.
Got my gold medal, and
You did it.
very
You
cool.
did
Good
it.
job. And what
That's
countries you
incredible.
play?
Did we just all
Countries
freeze?
did you play against?
So we played. Let's see, we beat Chile, Peru, Brazil, Puerto Rico, Estonia, somebody else. So
Interesting.
awesome.
You had better referees than the World Cup, or?
yeah, so if you went to that YouTube channel at Finba World, go to youtube.com/Finba, you'll be able to see every game.
Nice. And I hope that the referees were better than the ones in the World Cup. That
horrible.
it's currently
Horrible.
happening.
Horrible. I mean, it's
Steve, when I think of you playing sick, not everybody will get this, but people in the U.S. of a certain age, will think about that game with Michael Jordan, was just deathly ill with the flu.
Oh.
And didn't he score 55 points or something?
Yeah. I mean, agreed. It was a team effort. There's no doubt about it. I mean,
but that game was because of a pizza they had for dinner, right, or something like that, or
no.
a poison pizza.
It's interesting, Mark. We don't know whether it was because it affected almost everybody in our host hotel. And so we don't know if it's a virus that went through the hotel or through the ventilation system or just on the teams that were eating and traveling together. It's just, one of those. And then you're going, to Argentina and you're going to the pharmacia to buy friggin' drugs, over the counter that you think is going to combat it, because they won't give
They
you.
sell you anything in Argentina.
Right.
Wow. Maybe next time you should wear a spacesuit. Bring your own food, your own oxygen supply.
The food was outstanding. I mean,
of course it is. Yeah, Argentina's got amazing
But
food.
the other thing too is winter down there, so I mean, it was freaking cold. I mean,
that's right.
Sweaty gyms, and then even the finals on Sunday, we were the first game at 9 a.m. When we walked into the gym at 8:15, 8:20 on Sunday morning, that gym couldn't have been more than 50 degrees inside. It was freaking freezing.
That sounds hot to those of you in Europe.
In Argentina it's winter, so
yeah.
We had a hotel.
Sorry. Is this about your basketball, Steve? I think I saw this online.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah. It reminded me, I watched Air recently, the film. It's such a cool film. I think
that was cool.
Yeah. Really cool, right?
Yeah,
we can learn a lot about that in business. You don't have to be number one today to be number one tomorrow.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. And he broke all the rules. Bypassing the agent and all that stuff. That was a great movie. It was a good story.
Yeah.
It's not a story. It's actually the truth.
It's the truth.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to go talk to mom.
A smart woman, huh?
Yeah, she was a smart woman. Absolutely. We're going to bypass all these other wheeler dealer guys and go talk to mom.
And Tom,
we do that in our sort of staffing world, right? Sometimes it's mum, or sometimes it's the wife, right, or the husband. What does the husband think, or what does the wife think, right? Can I chat with them?
Exactly.
They're the ones that ultimately decide.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah. So Tom, that guy Sonny Vaccaro that they were talking about. So I grew up in New York, New Jersey area, and he was a legend back in the 70s. And I remember the day he came in with his boxes of Adidas, and we didn't, we were wearing Converse Chuck Taylors. So we didn't know any better. And he walked in with this Adidas thing, and we had no idea what the three stripes were or anything. And he outfitted us with Adidas sneakers on our team. And it's just, you just go, this guy is famous now. You just thought that he was he was like the guy secretly selling crap out of the back of the trunk of the car, and all of a sudden you find out where he goes. So
Oh my gosh. I love that. I love that. So what's going on with you, Tom?
Yeah, it's been a while, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. Just been a bit of a whirlwind, to be honest.
Yeah.
Kind of going for a bit of a reorg in the business. Some apologies, some goodbyes to some folks, but hiring a lot of other people as well. So yeah, it's just been really, really busy, to be honest with you. And I kind of said to myself, I see this in my calendar every week, and I'm like, oh crap, like I've got something else I've got to shoot on or whatever. And I actually canceled something to come on today because I was like, if I don't come on, they're just going to boot me off, right? So so I thought, right, I better join. Yeah, all good. Filming some cool podcasts. We're just about to release next week's Yasser Al Saeed podcast from AWS, which is kind of one of our like biggest scoops, actually, to be honest, because we've had loads of great people on, like, you know, Rob, yourself included, and, you know, loads of folks, right, in the past. But Yasser in his position at AWS, and, you know, given the fact that so many customers, is quite cool for us. And it was a good episode. So yeah, a couple come back soon.
I met him a year ago at it was an IoT oil and gas event in Houston, actually. And I think it was the first him coming out doing a speaking event as the new VP there over IoT. And so, yeah, really nice guy, really good guy.
Yeah, really nice. He's ex Qualcomm, isn't he? Didn't he ex Qualcomm?
I think that's right. Right.
Yeah. So, but no, yeah, things are all good. We're getting involved with Tiny ML Foundation a bit at the moment as well. So trying to work with those guys. Like, yeah, we really believe in all of that. You know, what Pete Warden's doing with useful sensors. We just really like it. Like, it's really cool, right? So yeah, we're just trying to build and partner with kind of community.
Yeah, Tiny ML for the win. Our Zach Shelby and all the guys over at Edge Impulse have really driven that big time. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow. Are you in Florida now, Tom?
I'm not. This is an artificial wall. We don't have plants anything like this in the UK. And in fact, it's not real. I'm not now. I will be. I've had to delay it because of kind of the reorg in the business. But I will be in coming months. I don't know an exact time, but yeah, I'm aching to leave the UK. I feel like
the reason I thought you were inside Estados Unidos was because I heard you say the word calendar instead of diary.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, it's funny, actually. Like, I'm a bit of a chameleon, right? So when I speak to US people, I always kind of adapt quite quickly. I'm always like, what's your sell and stuff like that. And you kind of have to do it because otherwise people look at you like you're crazy, you know. If I say, oh, is that your niche? And they're like, what the hell is a niche? You mean a niche? And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, fine. So you do just have to learn it, which is bizarre. And I always wonder, are we crazy or are you guys crazy? Or like, who's right, you know?
It's us. Also,
that's right.
It's definitely us. And as you also, I'm sure, will learn, if you haven't already, there's more than one America. There are multiple United States. I mean, niche, and depending on what state you're in or part of the country, people are like, what kind of talk is that, boy?
C-Man or C-Man?
Oh my gosh.
I'm going to the theater.
You what?
I'm going to the theater.
Ah, I gotcha.
Not the theater.
I gotcha. All right. So 5 values, you're doing different stuff.
Yeah.
You're focusing on some new areas, or?
Yeah, I think to be fair, like the 5E Media business unit is doing really well. The podcast is doing really well. We've got our second Women in Deep Tech report coming out in a few months. The first one was really well kind of heralded. Rene Haas from ARM, he downloaded it because Dipti Varshini was in there. She actually came on our podcast as well, talking around kind of automotive and ARM's view on what they're doing there. And 5E Tech is kind of realigning where it's focusing its efforts. So primarily in industrial, home, and automotive. And that's really where we want to kind of put all our might and all our force. But yeah, it's going really well.
Yeah.
I hired a CRO recently, and they're joining at the end of the year to kind of give me some headspace and a bit of bandwidth to go and do other bits.
Yeah.
But yeah, things could always be better. They could be a lot worse, but I think things seem to be picking up pace. Actually, there seems to be a bit more confidence. People are making decisions. I think the bulk of the kind of like layoffs happened, and when they happen, it's a case of actually going, okay, well, you need to start hiring permies now, not just contractors, because work's picking up. And when big tech starts to do that, it starts to drip down into everyone else. And so we're starting to see that now, which is good, because I think we're all a little bit like uncertain about where we were going to be. And is 2024 still going to be a continuation of that? But we're not seeing it in our bubble, right? And I can only speak about my bubble. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you do some bunch of market research as far as tech, as where to focus when you said like industrial, automotive, stuff like that?
Well, do you know what the honest answer is? No, we didn't. It just kind of felt right. And also, when I was speaking to Yas at AWS, and he was describing their kind of how they set up their business and their sales guys, that's how he described it. And I was like, well, of course, that's like predominantly 80-90%, right? And so kind of felt, well, if AWS seemed to be doing pretty well, we wouldn't do far wrong trying to follow in the footsteps of those three pillars. But I think where we're focusing in terms of areas is the German market's big for us. Germany's like got some fantastic engineering businesses and a lot of kind of controls, industrial, etc. A lot of cool companies. The Germans call it a Mittelstand business, right? So companies like Miele or Bosch used to be a Mittelstand business.
Yeah.
So we're focusing a lot there, and of course in the US, East and West Coast and stuff around the Bay. But Austin's picking up a lot. Oh, sorry, the lights have just turned off. It's the PIR sensor.
You're a real IoT guy, aren't you?
Wow. I'm just a geek in general, to be honest with you.
You're just a geek in general.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's interesting when you talk about AWS still going strong in there. I would agree. As far as the hyperscalers who decided to build a cloud IoT platform, AWS is the only one still giving it a try.
Yeah.
The other ones have either publicly shut it down, or like Microsoft quietly, invisibly, dramatically pulled back, laid off most of their IoT people without telling customers they're not in IoT. They still are, but it's not a thing. And so it's interesting because I've had friends, colleagues who I worked with on the IoT teams at Microsoft go to the AWS IoT team because it's the last place to go for them, I guess. And so, AWS, they're still giving it a go. They're still trying hard. The fact that you have a new VP that you got to interview there, because I know all the old guard from AWS IoT Core, and a lot of those guys are gone. And so it's probably another try, you know what I mean? Is what I think. Most people do kind of default and say industrial, heavy machinery, factories, blah, blah, blah. It's funny you say Bosch, because if you look under the covers, Bosch was the primary driver of the whole Eclipse IoT Foundation stuff. Like almost 100%. I know there were other people involved in Eclipse IoT, but it was really Bosch behind the scenes. And didn't work out in the end. You know what I mean? I know Bosch makes all kinds of stuff, right? But the Eclipse IoT doesn't look like it once was. And Bosch was the primary driver behind that. And so you just, because you be in the space long enough and you get to know a lot of people and you're involved in all these different organizations and you see which ones are doing great, which ones are kind of going off, who used to be a primary driver behind one and now they've kind of backed off. I remember guys joining our Azure IoT team that came over from Robert Bosch. And so you always just hear different stories about, what's going great, what's not going so well. It's certainly interesting. I know it sounds oversold or oversaid, where people just say, well, let's just work on solutions. You might need to connect some things that, like almost anything we've been building now for the last however many decades, even if it wasn't IoT, at some point we needed to connect this thing with that thing. And if it was client server computing with a Windows PC talking to an Oracle database, we went from desktop computing, where everything was on the desktop, to client server, to in-tier, to things like that. And so this notion of connecting, and of course, in those days, you were connected over a LAN, over Ethernet, probably, to your Oracle database or SQL Server or DB2. And then over time, we've got, we had the wireless revolution, obviously, which changed things. But we're still remotely connecting to things. It might be a human behind that thing, or sometimes it's not. It's a device, an inanimate object that we're trying to make animated.
Yeah.
But remotely connecting things to find out things and to interact with them is not going away, whatever we want to call it. You know what I mean? That's tech. That's all tech. It really is.
And I think, you're completely right. I think we've said this on the podcast before. I've said this on mine on many occasions. I think we'll just stop calling things IoT in the future, right? Because it would just be what it is. We don't really call it the internet, because it is just the internet. It is just the means by which things connect. And there'll be winners and losers in this. I think with the AWS thing, as you mentioned, obviously they're making a big song and dance about the BMW partnership that's, I'm seeing all around at the moment. And that's great, right? And I think, they're doing their thing, and they're doing it pretty well. I just think, the times will change and where people's focus and energy is. Of course, so much noise around AI. And if you look at like NVIDIA's reports and their earnings, it's just crazy right now. So I'm interested to see how things pan out in the future. But, when you said earlier, you said, oh, you're a real IoT guy. I was like, well, yeah, I'm a geek, but I'm an electronics kind of device guy, right? So it's electronic. It's something, it's a gadget, it's a device, be that like an IoT connectivity or whatever. That's what I'm interested in. That's what we kind of do. So we'll kind of go with the times as well, because yes, in our business, we're a service business, so we can do that.
Yeah, that's true. You can pivot around. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, that's good stuff.
Yeah.
Of course, the greatest IoT platform ever was the things.io. Just to remind everyone here on the show. It's as good as it gets.
We tried.
You tried.
Exactly.
I was a big fan. I actually was trying to help get him acquired at one point.
Yeah, it's good to remember that it's all that you have to be at the right place at the right time with the right people and with the right money.
Yeah.
If you have that, then you have a lot of chances.
That's right. That's right. Hey, Ryan.
But if not, it's really tricky to make it happen.
It is tricky. I thought it was cool. You sent that picture you found at your first IoT stars.
Indeed, yeah.
In the basement. What was the name of the building?
The water tower, in the
water tower. The lipstick.
So actually, I was checking pictures, and the first IoT started in 2015. Actually, we didn't know each other personally, right?
Right. I knew Rudy.
Okay, you knew Rudy. Okay.
I knew Rudy DeWale. Yeah. And so he had invited me to that. And gosh, I wish I could. Let me see if I can find that picture. That was a great event.
I saw a picture of Rob asking for a beer in the bar or something.
I was looking for a beer in the bar. Shocker.
Oh wow! So
no way, that's a shock.
That is a shock.
You attended all of the IoT stars.
That was cool. That was a great event. And what a lot of people don't realize is IoT was flowing off of mobile. There was always this thing, not everybody knows about it, called Mobile Monday. And that was a big thing for a long time. And at Mobile World Congress, we did a Mobile Sunday. And I remember doing a Mobile Sunday at Estella Dam up on the rooftop. And then the very next day, we did the first IoT stars, and it was kind of like introducing the world to, hey, all you mobile people, here's this thing called IoT you may not have heard of.
No, you heard machine to machine. You did.
You did. You did.
Yeah,
Exactly. Because you know what? We got a lot of the people, a lot of the new people who came into M10 and IoT. A lot of them were mobile people. They were building apps for smartphones and things like that. You know, because as we all know, it's always been hard to find lots of embedded developers and C developers. And so one of the things that mobile helped us with was it got people building small things. Not exactly super embedded C stuff, but better than most people were building before that, either desktop or server stuff, big things, right? And so, you know, in fact, you know, I often think that a lot of the smartphone revolution, all the components of it helped empower the IoT revolution. You know, when all of a sudden you had all these devices having to make things really small and lots of manufacturers building all these little components and sensors and accelerometers and things for devices because people really demanded it. And so that drove miniaturization dramatically.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We drove communications, wireless connectivity was driven, Bluetooth, cellular, Wi-Fi, NFC, all these things were driven by smartphones. And we got to, what's the right word? Gravy train, coast, whatever, drift, whatever. I'm trying to think of the word when you're in race car driving and you're right behind the other person.
Draft behind them. Drafting.
Yeah. We got to draft. IoT got to draft behind the smartphone revolution because it wasn't clear that everybody demanded IoT, but it was very clear that everyone demanded a smartphone. That was a real obvious revolution. IoT is still not an obvious revolution, actually. Not the way the smartphone was right in your face. Everybody's dying. People are waiting in line in the middle of the night. I haven't seen anybody waiting in the middle of the night to buy an IoT. Maybe.
I'll take 2 IoTs, please.
Yes. You know, like, yeah, I'm going to see Ryan Treese running out of an Apple store with his IoT device going, yeah, I'm the first one to get it.
IoT.
Yes.
Yep. I would.
Yes. Remember that? People running out with, I remember like Robert Scoble with the first iPhone in his hand running out of the store in Palo Alto and going, yeah, such a nerd. And now I'm going to wear Google glasses in the shower. I remember nerds in 1995 up where I went in Redmond at the Egghead Software and all these software companies at midnight to get their first copy of Windows 95. I haven't seen that kind of excitement and hype in IoT ever. I don't know if we ever will.
What do you need to do to have that type of fanboys or fan base for the technology? How did that happen?
It's a good question. Maybe is it user experience? Is it? I don't know.
Make it easy. You have to make it easy. That's always the tough part about IoT. Usually you have some sort of customization, like connected machines in the field, right? You could have like a vibratory conveyor in the middle of a forest, or maybe it's a wastewater sewage system. But scaling a lot of that stuff, it's that kind of customization that just, I think, turns a lot of people away. Like,
just as you were saying that, Ryan, easy. I'm like starting to fall asleep.
Exactly. You see? I actually had a pretty good conversation with someone this past week. They were frustrated just because of that. They said, look, I can get like a home security IoT based system, right? And it's so easy to set up. You just take it out of the box, and then you have this cloud connection. You have all this different remote access. And I'm thinking, yeah, but that's just one use case for one device on their own platform. We've always been able to do that, right? And so their frustrations have been, I have this factory full of stuff. Why can't I make it as easy as hooking up my security camera? Well, we can make a security camera for the factory, but it's not going to do anything for your machines, right? And I think that's always been the tough part of trying to scale some of these things. But there still should be things like temperature vibration sensors is just such a low-hanging fruit. It's such a low hanging fruit. I don't know why. Everyone talks about it, but like I'm shocked that there isn't one on like every motor in a factory or rotating asset. That's one people should be like, I have an IoT.
Yeah.
Do
Maybe
you know
we
what?
should. Go ahead.
No, I agree with you, Ryan. Right? I think it's got to be easy, but it's also got to drive a purpose to be fun or make money, right? So why did people Bitcoin mine? Because they want to make some money, right? Why is AI good? Because it's fun, but it also enables them to generate more and to do work easier. And I think going back to Mark's question about how to get a fanboy kind of base around it, well, it's got to be really cool and sexy, or you've got to make money, or both, right? And if you can't do any of those, it's always going to be really esoteric.
That's what Apple did well. They made it look really, really good, and then they're purposeful in their design to make it easy for a lot of very common things. And yeah, I think you're right, Tom.
Yeah. What does Steve Jobs always say? Start with the customer experience and then work backwards.
Yeah.
Too many people do it the wrong direction.
To get back to where we were a little bit ago, I do think it's interesting because I was working at Sprint Nextel when the smartphones were coming out when I was in college. And I think that kind of need for high-speed data with all these different apps, and now you're streaming YouTube and things like that, I think that really opens it up for a lot more data-intense IoT kind of use cases that maybe weren't there before that infrastructure was in place. You're still going to have the reliability problems, but I think just building out that data coverage and network and facilitating remote connections into a field asset is much more viable now than before the smartphone.
I mean, the biggest driver for leading to 5G, whether it's working for you or not, has been video. Video's dominating bandwidth usage on smartphones today. And so, it's funny when people talked about in the early days of should we roll out 5G, you had a lot of crazy analysts saying people will pay more for 5G. That turned out to be wrong. They're not going to pay anymore. They're going to expect it. It turns out 5G, if it works, is actually table stakes. You have no choice but to go to 5G to keep up with the people, bandwidth, YouTube videos, cat videos usage going on all the time. And so but back to my point about IoT drafting behind the smartphone revolution, we get to draft behind the fact that we had to create more bandwidth because people want to watch cat videos really fast.
Maybe it's an off-topic question, but I guess it's related. Why the data plans for IoT devices are different than the data plans for humans?
No, that's a great question. Are you saying, well,
why machine-to-machine connection? It's more expensive.
I mean, go ahead, Ryan.
Sorry, I was going to say, I think the way you use it is a lot different, right? The amount of data you're consuming at the rate you're consuming it. I think with anything that I believe for like a business or something that is relied upon, I think there needs to be extra cost associated with making sure those are online and always up, right? Or maybe prioritized.
I'm always online on my data plan.
Yeah. But for consumer devices, I'm thinking like, okay, if I go to a concert, right, or a stadium, I'm not getting prioritization on that tower. But if I have a business nearby a concert, I'm probably getting prioritization on that tower, even when it's crowded, I'd hope, right?
Do you think that happens?
No.
Okay.
But I think to some degree, yeah. I think to some degree, if the customer is large enough, right? If it's a big corporate account for them, but I would hope. But yeah, I still think that is a tough part, Mark, is getting a data plan, because a lot of times customers are, at least the way I've experienced it, they're actually turning off assets and on and off remotely for months at a time too when they're not using them. So it's not like you have this always active cellular plan. It's like sometimes it's like turn it on for a month, turn it off for 3 months, turn it on. So there's this constant like switch that people are flipping sometimes too.
The mobile operators believed, mobile operators think in SIMs. That's how they think, in SIMs. And they believed, because the analyst told them, that even though they saturated the smartphone market, there's that ARPU thing and churn and all that stuff. We've saturated. Everybody on the planet has 5 smartphones now, or whatever. But everybody's got a smartphone. And so the mobile operators like, how do we have growth? And the analyst said, IoT is how you're going to have growth, because we're going to go from having a few billion SIMs and smartphones to 100 billion or trillions of IoT devices. And you're going to make so much money, as Marc is showing. And they're like, awesome. And then there you go. There's the light bulb. And then they mistakenly tried to charge like an iPhone data plan to people with IoT devices. And that's where things went down the tubes really fast, because people are like, the economics aren't there. The value from one IoT device and the data it's sending is not worth that much. It'll never be, the ROI may never be there. It probably won't be there. And so, when you come out and you tell the mobile operators, the price needs to be measured in pennies, not dollars, not.
Or at least the same price than other data plans, right? And then if you want extra privileges on the top of that, then maybe I will accept. But actually, a plan for 10 megabytes of data for an IoT device costs more than my 200 gigabyte data plan.
Wow.
So that doesn't make any sense.
It's a good point.
What's preventing you, Marc, from just getting a SIM, calling it a cell phone, and popping your SIM card in your IoT device?
Yeah, it should work, yeah. But I'm not sure that's fair, as if you go to a telco here in Spain, and you ask to them, they are not gonna sell you like human. I mean, for a SIM card, you need an ID card, so to have like a SIM card on your phone, and there is a different regulation, I guess, than for IoT SIM card.
I get where you're coming from, especially when everybody's got these unlimited data plans. It makes you want to say, like, if I was doing and this is just cellular, which is different use case. In a factory, I may not be using cellular. I might be using Ethernet or Wi-Fi or whatever. But if I'm outside and moving around, like if we did the farm thing, maybe I should just be putting my phone out in the middle of the farm and then be sharing Wi-Fi off of that and have a hub and spoke thing and have all my IoT devices go through my phone with unlimited data. And
Wi-Fi maybe.
Wi-Fi
it drains battery very quick.
Yeah,
Marc, it's got to be a money-making exercise, right? So if I go and get a mobile phone in the UK on a business tariff, it's more expensive than it would be on a domestic tariff, because you can get the sales tax back, we can get the VAT back, right? And there's also a business is a for profit. And perception of making more money, right? So maybe it's just as simple as it's a device. It's likely that it's a business using that device, and it's just a way to generate more money. And maybe it's just as clear cut as that, and it's a less congested market. Whereas the man on the street knows that if they go to this carrier, they'll get unlimited data, or they'll get some perk, or they get a bolt on, or whatever. And it's that competition thing. And maybe it's just as simple as that. And you're right, though. It's crazy, isn't it? But maybe that's it.
Yeah, and Rob, remember, we don't sell airtime here. We bury it into the application cost, right? So the customer never sees airtime.
There you go. Customer never sees airtime.
Not a charge.
Well, now I want to make an IoT device that's just a LoRaWAN router with a direct plug-in to charge my phone as a hotspot and use a phone as a modem into a LoRaWAN modem, into a LoRaWAN access point. I like your idea, Rob. It's sitting here.
So Steve is saying that when he sells an IoT device, a product or whatever, it's a service, if I'll just pick Teal for an example. If I use them, I need to do cellular in this particular use case. And while I was excited that Teal is, 1 penny per megabyte, but I actually have to pay $1 per month also for that endpoint. And so when Steve builds his solution, he is baking in the $12 a year plus all his margin and everything else on top of that, and the customer never knows that that's where that came from.
You're buying an application solution. You're solving the problem with the application, not solving the problem with the airtime.
Right. Yeah.
So, you don't want to have that. I don't want to have that line on it because I don't want someone to come back and go, well, I can get it from Core for less than Teal, but iBasis is this way. And
yeah, because you're right. They'll start shopping for
what? For a difference of what? 27 cents a year? Who gives a shit?
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
But maybe that's not the issue, right? Maybe the issue is that customer just cares that it works.
Right. Exactly right. If it doesn't work, then I'll give you your money back. If it works, then you're paying for the airtime and it's all buried into the application fee, and here you go. It solves your problem.
Yeah. Which goes back to Apple, right? Which is why Apple can, and when are the phones out? On the 12th of this month, right? Which is why the new iPhone is what, $2,000, maybe something like that. They're saying, Analyst.
And I heard the new technology features that a new iPhone is going to come out is new colors.
Oh.
So wait, it's a bigger battery and a bigger camera. Oh, and the lights came.
It's got to be magenta.
And then the USB-C charger, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you, EU. Yes.
Right. Well, it can't be magenta because Deutsche Telekom will get very upset. Someone told me earlier this week, and if there's anyone from Deutsche Telekom, don't sue me. But apparently they got very upset with someone using magenta in their logo, and it was completely unrelated. And they went and sued this company in Germany, right, for just using magenta as a color in their brand kit. And it's like, what, you own a color now?
Nice try, guys.
I gotta jump. All
right. Yes, I will
patent breathing air, fresh air. So you will pay me every time that you breathe, right?
All right, Marc, can you take us out as we wind up today here?
Sure. Yeah, I guess so.
You can do it.
Okay, now?
Now, it's 9:31.
Okay. So thank you very much. If you arrived here, it's almost a miracle. We have a world championship, I don't know how to call that, 60 plus 64-year basketball tournament. We have to play. I don't know when we...
You keep threatening me, Marc, okay? You just keep threatening.
I will keep training, just in case.
Yeah, you damn right you better.
But yeah, thanks for coming, IoT Coffee Talk. Glad to see you next week. We will have amazing guests next week. Remember to go to our YouTube channel, LinkedIn, whatever, and like and subscribe and donate to Elevate Our Kids. It's yeah, absolutely. So in case that you want to help children to have new technology in schools. And this is it. If you arrive here, please comment on the video and let us know that we make things well.
Keep sharing. We need more subscribers. Keep sharing.
Mm-hmm.
And
adios.
2 weeks we'll be in Austin.
Oh, wow. That's right.
AI and IoT world. And then you're going to be there, Ryan?
I live here, and I will see you there.
Right, so come to the show. We're going to do it live.
Perfect.
And then in 3 weeks, we'll be in Las Vegas for Mobile World Congress.
Mobile World Congress Vegas? Awesome. So we will have an amazing episode in a week. And in 2 weeks, we will have an episode IoT World in Austin. And in 3 weeks, Mobile World Congress Vegas.
There's a lot of stuff.
A lot of big things coming.
All right.
Have a good week, everyone.
Have a great day, everyone.
Bye.
Adios.
Bye.